Welcome everybody to the third MICE General Body Meeting. I'm Joel Padilla.
And I'm Jessica Vanrelos. So as I said, I'm Jessica Vanrelos. I'm Director of Development, and I'm an ELCO transfer actually. I transferred to CSU Long Beach this semester. I'm a computer science major, and some of my hobbies include biking, cooking, and trying new things.
So like I said, I'm Joel Padilla. I'm the Director of Operations. I am a fifth year senior construction management major. And some of my hobbies include watching and playing sports, gaming on my PC, and listening to EDM. My favorite artist is Martin Garrix, and I like going to Disneyland.
We just wanted to give a big thanks to everyone who helped us and supported us in our Chipotle fundraiser. Yeah, thank you for coming and helping out.
So this Saturday, October 17th, we do have our Discord social from 6 to 11. Use the QR code to join our Discord if you haven't. We're going to be playing Among Us, Scribble.io, and any other games we can think of. So yeah, join us so we can just hang out, have a good time, take a break from school for a little bit.
Yeah, and if you guys are interested in gaining any experience, we have some open offers or positions. We have historian, we have high school outreach, and we also have director of recruitment. We have actually 2 positions for that. So if you guys are interested, you can always scan the QR code or email us.
Make sure to follow us on all the social medias. We have our Instagram and our Facebook pages. Feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn, just to expand your network, and subscribe on our YouTube channel so you can watch any of our workshops and that we post on there. If you happen to miss one, you can always go back and check them out. It's always very helpful.
Thank you guys for sitting through this presentation. If you guys have any questions, you can always email us at our email at info@csulongbmaes.org. Or you guys can always reach out to us in other forms, such as the website or our social media.
And we'd like to welcome our special guests from Northrop Grumman. This is the list they gave us. So we have Tracy, Norby, Raoul, Nelson, Melanie, and Phil. So we're going to hand it off to them for their presentation.
Well, thank you so much. This is Tracy Allen. I'm a HR manager at Northrop Grumman at our Redondo Beach site. And we have our team members here today. I think we were going to do a 1 slide about me so you can all learn a little bit about each of us. And I'm having video issues, so this is good that I have a video. I have a picture within my Zoom profile, which I absolutely recommend for all of you. And also this slide here. So I am a alum of Long Beach State, both from undergrad and master's program out of the business school. Graduated in 2002 in finance and went back to back for my MBA and graduated in 2004. I had the wonderful opportunity to play on the women's volleyball team, played in 3 Final Fours, and we won the championship in 1998. So such a proud moment. Wish volleyball season were around, especially with the men having won back-to-back championships previously. My family is from the Philippines. My dad joined the Navy and one by one sponsored all of our family members to come to the United States when the Navy base was here in Long Beach years ago. And so I think that is such a strong tie to working at Northrop Grumman for me. Currently, I've been in the company since 2005. I've worked many different roles within the business. Considering getting an MBA so early in my career, I wanted to learn as much as I could. So I have worked in finance, supply chain, project management, operations, etc. And currently I'm an HR manager and really looking forward to the discussion today.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Norby Contreras. I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about myself. I also work in the HR department at Northrop Grumman. I have a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. My concentration was HR management. I have a minor in economics, and I went to Cal State LA. I'm born and raised in LA, and I have two siblings that are currently working at Northrop Grumman. So definitely it's an interesting fact when people find out that the three of us work for the same company. I've worked at different companies before coming to Northrop Grumman. I came to Northrop in 2013, but prior to that, I was an employment coordinator at an international law firm, an HR representative at Fresh and Easy, which no longer exists, but definitely had a really good experience in those two jobs, and definitely learning even more here at Northrop Grumman. And I'm currently supporting the engineering group here at MG. It includes some of the groups that Phil manages at Northrop. And some facts about myself is that I like leading our worship group at our local church with my boyfriend. He has different talents, so definitely love working with the worship group, organizing, getting everybody ready, and definitely encouraging kids to learn new instruments, and definitely something great for people to learn. I also love to capture memorable moments in pictures, so I included that in my biography. There you could see Cerro de la Cruz from Guatemala. My family is originally from Guatemala, so this was my trip last year. It was definitely memorable. I hadn't been in about 20 years, so definitely took advantage of the beautiful scenery that it has. And Guatemala definitely is considered, it has a nickname of the country of eternal spring. So it definitely lives up to its reputation. And also I'm typically a homebody. I like relaxing at home, watching YouTube videos, and just experimenting in the kitchen with my boyfriend. Just trying new things, just at least everything that we cook, it's edible. So, and that's about it about me. And I think now it's Raoul.
Awesome, thanks, Nori. I will go ahead and also share my screen really quick. Nice, so my name is Raoul Pacheco. I am a UR talent acquisition business partner, or a university recruiter, in other words. I'm also Cal State Long Beach alumni, Go Beach. I graduated in 2018, so not that long ago, with a business degree in human resources management. Right after, I started working at Western Digital, doing university recruiting as well. There, I was supporting some of the firmware and ASIC groups. And I joined Northrop Grumman. I felt mentioned I'm relatively new in January. So like I said, I'm still getting a hold of things, but I am the campus recruiter lead for Cal State Long Beach. So you're probably gonna see my face around and other events as well. My responsibility is building a good pipeline of intern and entry-level candidates to fulfill the sector, wide openings. So any recruitment questions, I'm your guy. Things that I enjoy in personal level, food, tacos are the way to my heart. Spending time with my husband, my friends, and my dog, who's currently laying next to me because he's a little clingy. Video games, I'm super into Animal Crossing since the quarantine started. And I watched Selena the movie way too many times. So that's it about me. And I think we can go on and go with Nelson now.
Hi, yeah, I don't have a camera. So I'm still in my office. I'm a Cal State Long Beach alumni. I graduated back in '97, electrical engineering. I joined TRW, and I've been with the company now, Northrop Grumman, for the past 23 years. Time flies. The whole time I've been working on software. I'm in the software department. We automate testing, so I've been doing tested software most of my time here. I love going to Cal State Long Beach. I'm always, visiting the different clubs, and it's a chance to get out of the office and walk around campus. I remember when I couldn't wait to get out of there, and now I can't wait to go back. So enjoy while you're there. I had a great experience here at Northrop. When I first came, I thought, I'd just work a couple years and go on somewhere else. But I'm still here. I'm still enjoying what I do, having fun. Sometimes it gets pretty intensive, lots of work, but it's always rewarding what we do. So.
My name is Melanie Gonzales. I just graduated from Cal State Long Beach in May. I'm now an associate software engineer at Northrop. Let's see. So I don't have like a whole lot of professional experience since this is my first engineering job. So I just wanted to focus more on like how I got here, which was through the College of Engineering Career Fair that I went to about a year and a half ago. And that's where I discovered Northrop, and I applied for the internship and ended up doing the internship last summer, which was a really great experience. So I definitely recommend that. And I graduated in May, and I've been working for the past month at Northrop. I mostly do front end work now. And yeah, as far as hobbies, I really like gardening, I like cooking, and I really like watching sports too. So I'm hoping my Dodgers pull through right now. That's it for me.
Anyways, I'm Phil Diaz. I've been with Northrop, good Lord, actually 35 years. 10th anniversary here. Born and raised in Long Beach. Went to undergrad school at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and then went to graduate school at NYU. Couple children. My daughter's a slow graduate. She works at Google. She's been home since February when they sent all the Googles home to stay and work. So they're going to do that through the end of the year. My son's going to school at Cal State Long Beach. He was in international program at Canterbury. He went in January, and unfortunately, with COVID happened, he had to come back in March. So he's back at home also. So if you look at my work experience starting back in '81, after I graduated, I was working at NYU. I worked at Bell Labs, section manager at TRW before Northrop bought us. And then I've done a lot of technical work along the way, and then morphed into a project manager, integration and test lead, so both hardware and software, the whole program, then a program manager. And then I realized I didn't want to do a lot of traveling out of the Pentagon otherwise, so I backed off and went back into a software lead role. Went into project engineering. Now I'm a department manager for the last 5 years. So functionally, I've had up to about 120 people report to me. I'm about 70 right now. So some of the programs I can't talk about because they're classified. Air, space, directed energy, which is basically Star Wars with laser weapon systems. I worked out of Fort Lee in Virginia. I worked Army Knowledge Online, about 1 million user portal plus. Worked out of the Pentagon, so I lived back there for a while. Previous to that, I worked for the Olympics, 1996. So big transportation system, lots of hardware, construction, project management, everything that you could think of to develop an advanced transportation management system that was world class at the time. And I've done a lot of R&D work, so I'm kind of going top down and working at Bell Labs. Love to golf, so that's a picture of me over at looking Catalina Island in the background. Fancy word for wine tasting, that's the enology. So it's funny, half the officers in the golf club are also in the wine club, so that's fun. So I was swimming about 4 times a week over at Cal State Long Beach till they closed down the pool. So that's one of the things I really like to do since I used to live down the street. Melanie, you mentioned landscaping. I love it. I'm a handyman. When I moved to Atlanta, I really didn't know what I was doing, but I built up my basement and I realized what I was good at and not good at. We talked about me helping as a professional advisor for your clubs for a long time. So I'm glad we're seeing that morph up again. I know we had both SHIP and MISE together up to, I think, last year. Now we've kind of split, but we've always seen the membership, between both. So if you could double dip, so be it, be an officer. Knights of Columbus, yep, Mass on the Grass. So I don't know if you guys go to church, but we've been doing it at St. Joseph's probably for the last 2 months. We have 2 acres, so we set up about 250, 300 people show up, and it's part of being a night. And I sure make sure we have social distancing, but it's good to go to church and hear the Monsignor and all the other deacons that speak, good positive energy. And I love food, so I'm a foodie. So whatever you like to eat, like today was Taco Tuesday, so I loaded up on tacos. But I'm glad we were able to get a whole panel together. And we're going to let Raoul talk more about interviewing techniques. So I think we've got a pretty good group of people here representing. So we'll have some time at the end to answer any questions that you may have. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. I'm going to go ahead and take it away and start talking about interviewing techniques, like you said. So if any of you was at the SHIP general body meeting last week, you probably saw something very similar. It's going to be like a good refresher. Obviously, interviewing, it's very broad, so I could really speak for the entire hour about interviewing. I try to condense it as much and make it, like I said, a power prep interview course. And I do want to leave some good time for your questions at the end and for questions for any of our panel members. So let's dive right into it. First and foremost, for those of you who are not quite familiar with Northrop, I did want to talk briefly about who we are. And hopefully for those of you who are familiar with the company, you can learn something new today. So Northrop Grumman today, we are the leading global security company, which means that we are in charge of solving the ever-changing problems of our customers. We do have a lot of contracts with government agencies. And just in 2019 alone, we made 33.8 billion in sales. We have operations all across the country and in Europe and some parts of Australia. So you can imagine, how big this company is. We have approximately 90,000 employees worldwide. So the only way for us to make sense of this gigantic organism who is Northrop Grumman is by dividing it into sectors. We have 4 main operating sectors, and obviously I'm not going to go deep into each one of these, but I'm going to talk briefly about them so you have an idea of what each of these entities do. Let's start by aeronautics. Aeronautics is in charge of designing, integrating, and manufacturing manned and unmanned aircraft, from airplanes to helicopters, you name it. Defense systems is more about logistics and modernization, as well as advanced weapons. Mission systems is in charge of the cyber and software security. So in other words, they are in charge of this immense and very important information, and that it doesn't fall into the wrong hands, as well as advanced sensors. And last but certainly not least, we have our space sector. And that's very self-explanatory. They provide launch mission assurance. And one of the most notorious products of the space sector is our James Webb Telescope, that is going to provide tremendous advances for human discovery. And that is actually being manufactured in our Redondo Beach location, or space park. So like I said, I could also speak for hours about the company, but I didn't want to take the entire time doing so. I really want to talk about the interview tips. So let me take it away as far as interviewing. First and foremost, you have to know your resume. Everything on your resume will be fair game for an interviewer to ask you questions about. So you really want to prepare a couple of talking points around each segment of your resume. So you have stories ready and anecdotes ready in case you're asked about it. Something that really helps is to print out a copy of your resume. Have it in front of you. You can make some notes on that, and that will really help your creative juices get the flow. Research the company. So obviously you want to know who the company you're interviewing with is, right? What they do. A good way to do this is in social media. Follow them on Instagram, follow them on LinkedIn. You can go to their website, you can browse through their most recent news. And the reason why you want to research the company is because some of the most common interview questions are, what do you know about us? Or why do you want to work for us instead of our competition? So obviously you don't want to hinder your chances by not having an answer to these relatively simple questions. Be on time. So I know that things are looking particularly different from other years, right? Other years you can expect to go to an interview and have an interview room and have to drive there. And nowadays you can just open your laptop or pick up your phone and you're already there. However, being on time is extremely important still nowadays. The reason why is because you want to log in at least 15 to 20 minutes in advance so you can test out the technology, make sure your audio works well. If it's a video interview, make sure your video is working properly. I'll talk a little bit more about this in another bullet point, but be mindful that you want to be on time, even if it's a virtual interview. Practice makes perfect. So mock interviews are a great way to just get practice on your answers and on your interview responses. You can do this with a friend, with a classmate. If you have a tutor or a mentor, you can ask them to do mock interviews. I know that the College of Engineering and its Office of Professional Development is hosting some mock interviews Thursday and Friday because I'm participating on them. And I'm not sure if they had a deadline to participate, but I highly recommend participating in these mock interviews. One, because you'll be interviewing with recruiters from the industry and getting feedback. And also, it's a great way to practice. So if you have the chance and if you still have time, reach out to them and see if you can participate. A little bit of water break right there. But now, focus on the skills that are relevant for your role. So obviously you want to know what role you are interviewing for and tailor your answers to focus on those particular skills. For example, when I asked about your major, I noticed that a couple of you mentioned you are computer engineering, which is great. It's a good combination of hardware and software skills. But imagine you're interviewing for a role that is a little bit more on the hardware side. So obviously you want to focus your skills on your Verilog, on your VHDL, on your Arduino, and all these analog tools, and probably not spend 5 minutes talking about software programming languages because they're not as relevant. So know what role you're interviewing for and tailor your answers accordingly. Now, be a star. Answer, and I know this sounds kind of tricky, like what the hell? But STAR is actually an interviewing answering method for these questions that are more on the behavioral side. So all these questions that start with, can you tell me about a time when you did this? Or give an example of a time when you had to do this. So the STAR method is, if not the universal, one of the most commonly used interviewing methods. At least at Northrop Grumman, our managers are briefed on how to use the STAR method. So let me quickly walk you through what it is. So STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. Situation gives you just a little bit of context. So, what was happening? What other details do I need to know in order for me to understand the broader picture? Task is the particular challenge that you had to overcome. What was the roadblock? What was the challenge you had to deal with? Action is specifically what steps you took in order to overcome this challenge. And the result is what benefit did you get from all this? So let me give you just a quick example. One of the interview questions that I personally like a lot to ask is, can you tell me about a time when you had to work with someone who was difficult to work with? How did you manage this situation? And how did you find common ground? So a good STAR answer would be, last semester, I was paired randomly with one of my classmates in order to deliver our final project. That's a perfect situation. You don't even have to go in depth. You let me know this was for a class. You were working with somebody you never worked before. Good stuff. Task. So and remember, this is the issue. So this person was not being very communicative. We actually missed a deadline because he was not getting back to me in time. That's perfect. That's your issue. As a result, I actually had to sit down with him and let him know that this project is a big portion of our grade. So what I did, I came up with a plan on how to divide the work and have him doing some parts. I will do some parts, and then we'll meet every 2 weeks in order to consolidate the project. Great. And then the action, remember, you want to spend a lot of time debriefing exactly what you did in order to overcome the challenge. As a result, we were able to deliver a well-done project, and we had a passable grade in this class. Good. It doesn't need to be like a super elaborate answer, but as long as you touch on each point, you'll be fine. You can look up STAR interview method online, and you'll find tons of questions. For the most part, they're all the same. For the most part, they're all asking about, working with difficult people, working with a time crunch, etc. My recommendation would be to prepare some answers to these questions, because if you face it in your upcoming interview, you already have an answer ready right off the bat. Moving on, dress the part. So obviously you want to dress up nicely. If it's, a video interview, you want to dress up, head to toe, because I've seen some horrible videos in social media of people not wearing pants to their Zoom meetings. So you definitely don't want to become a meme. Dress the part, even if it's a phone interview, right? Even if they can't see you. I believe that dressing up really adds up a layer of confidence, and that really translates in your voice. Test and prepare your virtual environment. So what I mean by that, I already talked about, testing out your video, your audio, but also, for example, prepare your background. Like I said before, you would expect to go into a conference room and have a peaceful environment for you to focus on interviewing. Right now, obviously, we're all at home. We're all trying to make the best out of it. So try to find, a plain wall to be against. If you something that I do recommend is that if you have like a headset for your computer, use that, because that will give you like a microphone, which gives you clarity and it will allow your interviewer to hear you properly, and it will give you your headphones so you can hear them as well. So test all of this out. Obviously, these are not deal breakers. Managers understand that we're all trying to make the best out of it, the best out of this situation. So like I said, they're not deal breakers, but they will help make your experience interviewing a lot smoother. Always have questions to ask towards the end of the interview. And you want to prepare these before you even go to the interview, right? Again, there's tons of questions to ask towards the end of the interview online, but at the end of the day, you want to ask questions that you want the answers for. Remember that an interview, it's an opportunity for you to learn about the company as well. So ask questions you care. If you want to know about mentorship opportunities, and that's important to you, you can ask them, so what kind of mentorship opportunities does your company offers? Or if it's important for you to work in an exciting project, you can ask, what kind of projects do interns typically work in the past? So, look up, make some questions up, and make sure that they are important to you. At the same time, you can ask questions throughout the interview. For example, if the manager is talking about a very exciting project that his group is taking on or her group is taking on, you can ask them a follow-up question. However, be mindful to not take over the entire time, right? Interviewers have an agenda of questions they want to get through in order to assess you as a candidate. So obviously, if you take over asking question after question after question in the middle of the interview, they're not going to be able to get through their questions, and therefore they won't be able to do a fair judgment of you. Your body language, right? Sit up straight. You can use a good tone of voice, smile if if you're feeling like it. You don't have to make it awkward and look at the camera the entire time. But this really helps. Obviously, if you're not there technically and you're very enthusiastic, that's not going to cut it. But for example, if you are very much at pair with another candidate, technically speaking, and you show that enthusiasm, you show that you really want this job, then that can really be a tiebreaker. Last but not least, send a thank you email. And in my opinion, this is just the cherry on top of that cake, right? Just sending a thank you email, thanking the interviewer for their time, for the opportunity. It can also be a tiebreaker if they are in between two candidates, because it shows that you are willing to go that extra mile. And a little bonus right there, be genuine, have fun, and smile. I know that fun and interview don't always go in the same sentence, but something that I always tell students who come to an interview is that the fact that you made it through the process and all the way to the interview stage already speaks volumes of who you are as a candidate, especially for larger companies like Northrop Grumman, who receive thousands, and I mean thousands, of intern and entry-level applications. So the fact that you made it to the interview stage, it's already speaking a lot about you. So take a moment to let that sink in, to pat yourself in the back, and hopefully that will give you, a more confidence to go into your interview and really knock it out of the park. So I know that was very expressed and it was probably a little fast. I'm glad this is being recorded so you can go back and look at it as your interviews roll in. But I do want to, leave a good amount of time for your questions, not only about the interview or interview etiquette, but also through the panel, right? Like, how did they get there? Any recommendations? What did they do? So right now, I really want to open it up for questions. You can put them in the chat, or you can always unmute yourself.
So Raul, there is a question that was in the chat while you were talking about the STAR method and explaining a situation. Calvin mentioned, do you recommend going into detail, or should we only talk about the situation generally?
Just go generally, right? Like I mentioned, this is only giving the interviewer a little bit of context so they can understand the broader picture. So you don't really have to go into the details of like, oh, this project was A, B, and C, and we did that. If you find it that it happens to be relevant for the role you're interviewing for, then by all means, it could be a good plus to, slide that in there. But if it's truly experience that you drove from your work that it's not related to engineering, or from something that's completely unrelated, you don't have to go into details. You really want to spend the most time in the action, because what interviewers are looking for with these questions is to try to predict what kind of behaviors you could have if a similar situation appears in the future. So focus on the action, not so much on the situation.
Yeah, and if I could add, for entry-level roles or for your intern roles, you're really trying to really exhibit how engaged you are, how quick you are to learn, and how you collaborate and lead others. So it may be, when have you taken a leadership position? So I was, the president of this club or this society, and I was, or the membership chair, and I really took the time to ensure that our membership was engaged by, and then that's where you list your actions. And the result was, 60% of participation in every one of the events that I planned. So those are the kinds of ways we like to hear an answer in the STAR method.
Yeah, this is Phil. I want to rebut a little bit, because as part of this, we don't want to understand what we did. I want to understand what you did as part of that group. If you keep hearing we, then I don't know what you did as part of that group, especially if you're working on projects. So I usually try to ask people to get a little specific on the actions that they took, right? And of course, the results that came out and any action plans after that. So when we're doing as far as software, we'll ask you some technical questions, programming questions. So we hit you off first with the leadership characteristics or the behavioral of how you work as a group, and then team dynamic, and then what you did as the person technically as part of that group, right? And then after that, we'll lead you into some more technical questions as far as software development. So you could take it both ways as far as what you did as a team, but someone that interviewing, I really want to know, what you did as an individual as part of that. Nelson or Melanie, any comment?
I could say it's been like over a year since my interview, and it was just the one, so I have to think back. But I'd say like advice, general advice for interviewers, interviewees. For me, it was helpful to know just like when you're learning like a programming language, I guess this is kind of more software specific, but you tend to get caught up in the details, but it's good to just have like an understanding of why that language, like what does that language do as opposed to other languages? Like why would you choose this language over that language to do your specific task that you need to do? So that was just something that helped me in my interview.
And I was lucky enough to interview Melanie and hire you as an intern. So you did a great
Very
job.
true.
You're a perfect candidate. And then we hired you full time. So that's why I wanted you to help talk at this panel. So thanks.
I do want to direct this question to either you, Phil, or Nelson, because I know that you look a lot of student resumes. So what do you look in a resume in order to give that candidate a chance to interview?
It depends on what year you're at. If Nelson wants to join, go ahead, Nelson. But I look for internships, right? Especially if I don't care where you intern. I mean, obviously we want you to intern at Northrop, but if you don't happen to intern somewhere else, then we'll get you next summer, right? So we'll teach you, but if someone else is willing to hire you, I think that looks great because you have the work ethic, and of course you're going to school and you're out looking for positions, right? And you're going to learn on the job. And we try to do as much training as we can here at Northrop. We have set budget, but if you're getting that on the job along with going to school, I think that helps out a lot. So to look at as a resume, of course we look at GPA. I think we're at 3.0 now, right? So it used to be a little bit higher at 3.2, but I also look at extracurricular. Are you an officer in MIAS or SHIP or other engineering clubs? That means you want to be a leader. Half the things we get ranked on or rated on is your leadership, right? You can't sit in a corner and do the work. You got to express yourself. So that's part of collaboration and part of the behavioral. How do you work as a group in a team and what you've done? And we could ask you some questions like maybe you didn't get along with somebody. What did you do to help solve that? Or maybe you wanted to get your problem across and try to solve it, but maybe you weren't correct. Were you able to back down? Things like that. So in your resume, yes, I don't work somewhere, right? Looks good, GPA, and join some clubs, IEEE, SWE, some of those organizations. And if you're both SHIP and MIAS, right, you're getting the best of both worlds, right? You get a chance to talk to some of us and other companies. So that shows you're out there looking.
Well, while other questions start to flow, I can ask this questions to give some chance to other students. Why did you all ended up in the aerospace and defense industry, and what made you stay? And Norby, would you mind kicking this one off?
Well, at least for me, I didn't know about Northrop Grumman. My brother did. He was part of the military, so I know that Northrop Grumman is very good at hiring veterans. So he was the one that kind of introduced me to the company of what it was about. And working for Northrop, definitely our mission is something that attracts me. And all the available resources that we have available for me as an HR professional that they have available, just a lot of the training that they have available, very professional. And I know for the engineering team, they have that as well. That's something that definitely has kept me with the company, and opportunities that you have within the company to work with different people, different areas and groups, and definitely very collaborative and professional group of people that end up working at Northrop Grumman. So definitely they have high standards, and that's what definitely has helped kept me with the company.
Awesome. Definitely there's a lot of opportunities to cross collaborate on this. And Melanie, I hate to pick on you, but would you mind giving your perspective as well as a newer employee on how did you ended up in the aerospace and defense, and what made you choose Northrop Grumman?
Sure. I mean, to be completely honest, I didn't really plan on working in the aerospace industry. This is actually my second career. I worked in film for a couple of years, and I decided to go back to school and get this computer science degree. So it was really, I had heard of Northrop Grumman, but it was really just right place, right time when I went to that career fair, and I talked to some of the managers there, and it just seemed like a great place to work. One thing that I remember I did mention in my interview was that I was just looking for a place where I could feel like I'm doing really meaningful work. That at the end of the day, whatever I'm doing is helping something or someone, you know? So I just really got that vibe, especially in my interview too, from Phil and from Nelson. But yeah, that's kind of just what brought me in, I guess, and why I really like working for Northrop is that I just feel like we're doing important stuff here.
Absolutely. Very fascinating projects that we are doing it across all of our sectors. Like I said, some of us, we can't talk a lot because they're classified, but fascinating stuff. Phil, I think like this question is a little more tailored towards you. Why, well, what it says, why did everyone chose Northrop or TRW versus other companies? Would you mind kicking this question off?
Yeah, let me start a little bit on that previous question. Yeah, I was in the Boy Scouts, so ever since we had the lunar landing, I've always wanted to build spacecraft. So I knew that's what I wanted to do. I interned at Boeing before McDonnell Douglas, so that was a great opportunity. It's funny because when I went on undergrad school, I kind of followed what I would say the better engineers were doing, their students. I'm not saying I was one of them, but I tailgated them to like Bell Labs, where I went to school for free. I had a stipend to go there, and then I had some friends come back to work for TRW. And as soon as I started working there and I saw the environment that we had, uh, there's no other place I wanted to work. I mean, 35 years later, but I've been lucky enough to work here in Southern California, but I moved to Atlanta, worked out of DC, worked at Sacramento, San Diego. You know, I got to be near the ocean, but the opportunities to go around the country, right? And when you're young, take advantage. I'll throw a pitch in now that with GBSD, we just won in Utah. If you're young, we're looking for a lot of engineers, hundreds and hundreds of engineers to go work there. So technical questions, we have a set number. I don't want to give out the questions because you guys are prepared for them, but if you want to talk offline, we're actually looking at some tools now that commercial companies are using, like Google and Amazon or Microsoft. So we want to see white room or whiteboard type discussions. How do you solve a problem? So if we're doing it in person, we'll give you a question and a piece of paper and you start drawing on and write what you're going to do. Now that everything's remote, we're trying to get a tool, and I'm working with talent acquisition to see if it's going to be a free one or a cost. But we're going to try to, I guess, start that initiative. I talked to Tracy about it too. We got to think about legal, so we have to watch out what we're doing. But I think it's a great opportunity to figure out how your mind works and how are you going to operate. Because, you know, as we solve complex problems, I'm only software, right? You've got hardware, you got mechanical, electrical, aerospace. You know, we have SMEs, subject matter experts, that do a lot of the hard work. And one of the things that I think that, you know, I say it loosely, but we're a family, right? And we always take care of ourselves. We do a lot of training and mentoring. That's something that we ask people to do, and we put the requirement on them that when people come in, like Melanie, she's teamed up with somebody that's probably been out of school 1 or 2 years, and then et cetera, all the way up to people that are, you know, been here 15 or 20 years. So I think the working environment and the people we work with, you know, and the HR business partners are great, like yourself, right? I never met you. You've got a lot of great energy, right? And I appreciate you. And we've got Norby and Tracy. You've been working really, really well. Nelson sits next door to me. And then you got someone like Melanie who just said, hey, I want to go into aerospace and do something for our country. And that really sold me on her. Of course, she had a 4.0 GPA, so that helped too, Melanie. So good job on that. But yeah, that's the type of things that I'm looking for. Yeah, as far as internships, they're a little difficult. Are we going to start interviewing pretty soon? Do you know what the schedule looks like?
Yeah, so actually interviews will take place around the end of October. So in a couple of weeks. It's really important. If you want to participate, sign up on that link. For everyone, I'll post it on the chat as well. Nelson, if you're still with us, I know you also interview a lot of software and interns in general. So do you have anything else to add?
So we've been very successful at getting great people from Cal State Long Beach. And so the people that we're looking for is that the ones that can come and, you know, just get things done, ask lots of questions, very proactive, take ownership of things, you know, that if you can show that, you know, what we want is, like, we're all pretty busy here, and we want people that they can just come and, you know, just get their tasks done. And, you know, we show them, we teach them, we get them going, and then they just take off. But if we need to babysit, pretty much, you know, I don't know, if we need to just keep watching them, that's kind of, it makes it hard for us. I mean, we'll, you know, so it's, you know, if you can show that in your resume that you know, take things on, and, you know, you're leading some effort, you know, there was a senior project and you took the lead and you make sure things got done. That's kind of what we're looking for. You know, we're looking for, you know, problem solvers, people that can help us here.
Awesome. Thank you, Nelson, for you know, valuable input for people who's preparing for an interview. I know that we're almost at time, so any last questions? Now's your chance, everyone.
I have a bit of a question about eligibility.
Absolutely.
I recall someone saying something about, I think it was Eco actually, about 3.0. And I was wondering if anyone with a lower GPA than 3.0 would ever be considered.
It's possible. We have to sign a waiver, but in, you know, insinuating circumstances. I know someone at SLO, for example, his father was having some difficulties down in the LA area, so he was literally traveling over the weekends to go work and then come back to school. Some cases he wasn't making classes, things like that. I mean, if you're working to support yourself, there's some caveats there, right? But we want to hear good rationale. But it is possible, right? So I'm not saying it's not impossible. Internships help, right? That looks good. All those things. And if there's certain, you know, I know my first year at college was a very tough one. I think I was taking like 19 or 20 units because I had a double major. So my first year wasn't all that great, but I progressively got better. But that helped with the internships, right? So I was able to work at McDonnell Douglas while going to college, and that helped when my GPA got higher and higher. So it is possible. So Tracy, I don't know if you want to add in on this or not from an HR perspective.
Yeah, I think, you know, you got to consider we're competing with a lot of other schools and graduates. And so I would think a standard note is GPA and papers or extracurriculars that kind of sets the tone. So I think something has to stand out in your resume in order to weigh the fact that maybe it's a lower GPA than the other folks' resumes that we're looking at.
Yeah, I put my email in there, so if anyone wants to talk later, we can. So, I mean, I live down the street, not too far away. You know, I've been helping you guys for a while. And, you know, Cal State Long Beach for a few years dropped off kind of our radar because you're looking at trying to look at 7 or 8 schools and look in their domain and, you know, what's that cross. And we got Cal State Long Beach back on, I would say about 5 years ago, and it's been great. We've had nothing but great success with the students there at Long Beach, and it helps when we have these type of opportunities to meet you, right? Because I'll get a chance to know who you are. If I go to your meetings, we'll talk informally, right? So try to build that partnership, and that would help, right? We want to know who you are. You know, it's hard. It's very hard remotely. That's why you have to really sell yourself and, you know, show that ease, you know, and tell us a little about your life story and where you're at right now, right? So, and you'll get better as you interview more often, right? Just like I interview a lot. I could tell pretty much off the bat in the first 10 minutes whether you're kind of nervous or, you know, try to get that out of you. And then maybe I'll spend more time talking about what we do at work, and then try to lead you on to some questions, and then hope you guys can elaborate. But don't feel overwhelmed. I mean, we're all people, right? We've gone through this. Like you said, rest nice, be there on time. Hope we don't have technical issues like me while you're interviewing.
Okay, so it does look like we are at the end of our meeting. I just want to say thank you guys for coming out, and I'm going to share your info with our members so they could email or get in touch with you guys.